Hey, Trance family, Brandon Beatty here. Welcome to the 5th video in our series where we're putting together an uplifting trance track in Ableton completely from scratch, okay? Just a review, in the first video, we put together the framework of our track. We dropped in the intro, the exposition. We put some locators here. We know where we're building up, where we're breaking down. In the second video, we talked about a chord progression, choosing the chord progression that we're going to use to build the rest of the track. In the third video, we took some time to put our kick and sub bass in. We took time to get the levels right and mix them in correctly. And it's really important that we took a lot of time to do that because this is literally the framework for the rest of our track and the rest of our mixing. In the fourth video, we added our mid bass layers. Okay, we added these sort of lifted basses, which do the octave jumps. And then I like to add a rolling bass. This is great for peak time sort of driving trance because it adds an element that sort of fills in the space between the sub bass and the mid basses, and it gives us more control over those levels or those areas of the mix. And so this is kind of like putting different handles on these elements of the mix and gives us greater control. Okay, and that's just really important for a club ready track. We want control of all of the frequency ranges. In this video, we are going to build up the percussion section and just give us some more elements to work with. Okay, I know the track doesn't sound like too much right now, but here's a preview. Okay, here's with the rolling bass, if you can hear the difference. All right, just kind of fills out that space, and then here's with the sub bass. Now, real quick, guys, I know the levels is probably a little quiet, and that's good because when we are putting together the track, we don't want the track to be going really above like -6. And if you're using a mastering engineer, ask them ahead of time, hey, like what's the peak that the master bus should be at? Some of them are going to tell you like, don't go past -6, don't go past -9. So it depends on what your mastering engineer is looking for. That gives them enough room to master the track because we don't want to submit something that's pushing at 0 or going past the red because the mastering engineer can't help us. But for previewing purposes, as we're building the track, it's not uncommon for people to work with a gain plugin on the output, and that's just to give us a more how do I say this? This is so when we're comparing it to commercial tracks, it will compare in loudness. So here I just boosted it about 9 decibels. You can see we're getting closer. If you want, you could just boost it up to 12, however loud you kind of need it to make it easier to work with. Just don't forget to pull this plugin out when you go to send your mastering. So you can see here. Okay. So if we were to reference a commercial track or reference something on YouTube, we are closer to that volume. So again, music's sort of like a process. We have like a mix should come in at a lower volume than the mastered track, and this just gives you an idea kind of what the mastered track will sound like. However, there's a little bit more involved with mastering than just a simple volume boost, you know. So let's jump right into the core of what this video is actually about. I'm going to keep that on there. Hopefully you guys can still hear me when I'm talking. Maybe just for purposes of this video, I will just keep it up to like to 9, and I'm checking my levels here. It looks like my voiceover is coming in louder than the music, but we'll find out. Again, I apologize, guys, if you can't hear my voice. So okay, so for a percussion section, we definitely want to add in some more MIDI tracks, and this is where you can decide. Maybe we'll add in like an audio track. Again, you can use audio samples. So some of these sound packs, or we go back into our Dave Parkinson pack, they have drum loops. He actually has hi-hat loops. So you could just grab a hi-hat loop. All right. So this is where you can be as creative as you want. Okay. So let's jump in. We'll grab a hi-hat loop first. Okay. I kind of like that. We want to try to get it to like a rolling pattern, sort of similar to our basses. I feel like that the hi-hats, maybe one way we can start is a hi-hat that's going to reinforce the rolling pattern. So let's drop that in. Let's see what that sounds like with our basses. Okay, I'm happy with that. That's fine. So we want to make sure that we, in Ableton, set this to warp, put it on loop. All right. And we're going to extend this outwards. Let's see. What is it not extending? Loop. There we go. And we'll drag this all the way to here. Okay. And then we can play around with making this like a mono file, which I think I'm going to do that, and maybe play with the panning. So I feel like if we're doing something here in the beginning, maybe we could put it in the center. All right, and let's go ahead and pull in an audio sample. Again, from the Dave Parkinson pack, we're gonna grab an actual, not just a loop, but now we're gonna grab a drum hit. So these are drum loops. We wanna go to drum hits. I'm just gonna go ahead and grab a closed hat here. I'm gonna look for something kind of tight. Okay, I kind of like that. And we're going to drop it into the sample player. And we'll call this hat 1. Okay, we'll call this hat loop 1. And for the first hat, again, we got to play the sample on the C note. And we're going to literally fill in the 3/16 notes that the mid bass is taking up, and we'll just make this a 1 bar loop. We're going to solo that. All right, hat 1. So it's a little too much high end, so we're going to just go ahead and massage it with a little bit of EQ. Going to pull off some of the high end again to keep room more for like our cymbals and our sound effects and stuff. Just kind of keep that area open for air. We're going to make sure there's no low signals coming from the hi-hat. Sometimes they can. See, we do have a little bit of low energy right there. Okay, and maybe just pull a high shelf filter here. So just pull this down like right there. Okay, just to soften it. Somewhere around like 3 decibels is good for me. And we're gonna pull this back by a bit. All right. So, and this is where we can also consider adding a groove to our mid basses and to our hat. So I do have a video talking about using grooves, adding just a little bit of variation to these rhythms. So Ableton makes it really easy. We can just kind of throw in one of these swing grooves. We can put it into the hi-hat. So that's a bit too much. Let's see what other ones we have. I might go with this one. Okay, yeah, that's a great groove. So I'm using the Swing MPC 3000 16th note groove number 54. And now guys, you just have to play around with some of these, see which ones you like. We're gonna just go ahead and drop this into the mid bass layers, and this is just gonna add a little bit of a swing. We're gonna try to keep the rolling bass very, you know, quantized, and same with the sub bass, just like the kick drum. We don't want variations on these rhythms. Okay. A little much on the hi-hat there. Let me see, let me put my phone on silence. That thing is just going off whenever I'm trying to record here. Okay. I don't know. That groove is a little too much. Let's see if we can turn it down a little bit. if we, doesn't look like we can like directly adjust the amount here. You just have to adjust the global amount. So we're just going to pull it down here. Okay. Okay, I'm liking that swing. I like how this first hat is sort of reinforcing the mid bass. And then we'll add in the hat loop. Maybe we'll put it off to the left. Keep that center. And make sure we're working with a mono sound here. It actually looks like this hi-hat is stereo. So again, we're going to drop in the utility, make this mono. Let's see. Might even change the hi-hat sample. So again, this is where you got to be creative. This is sort of my process, just playing with different sounds. Let's see here. I might change this closed hat to this tighter sound here. Let's see. Do we have it at the right? And you can even try playing with the tuning on some of these sounds. I don't know. Some of these hi-hats is not doing it for me. There we go. Maybe we'll add like one more element, and you don't have to go too crazy with the percussion. I mean, every track is so different. This is where you get to be the artist. I've heard some tracks literally just have like that many hats and call it a day. I've heard some tracks have like really complex drum patterns or like fills, like they're doing all kinds of extra stuff, you know. So it's, you can go as much or as little on the percussion section as you want. So let's go ahead and add, I think, one more hat in here. And I do have a video talking about creating your own drum loop, and you do have to get creative. Again, I can't stress that enough. I can't really teach you creativity in this video, but you can just kind of watch my process. So maybe we'll do something like that. I hear like more of a something that sort of reinforces the downbeats here. So let's go ahead and put a pattern in here, and I'm going to bring this loop down to about 4 beats, just like a 1-bar loop. I hear this sort of like gallop thing. Okay. Just want to keep it going. I just put a little variation here just to give it, make it not sound so static. Just gonna adjust this a little bit. And really, if we want to take time to mix these elements in, we can again take a look at the spectrum analyzer, have the kick playing, we can add this sound in, and you can see, okay, this might just be a little bit loud. So we wanted to sort of fill in that space between the kick, like those open spaces between the kick. So somewhere around there. Where is our loop? Okay, not bad. I think we'll start there. Again, we can go as crazy as I want as we start building up the track, but all we need for now is like a simple sort of groove just to get started with, okay? And we will label these. Maybe we'll make them, we already have a red. I guess we could make all the percussion stuff red. Okay. And we're gonna call this hat 2. And maybe we'll add a, like, more of a drum loop type of thing. Drum loops. I actually like that. So we will put that in there. And then if you hear this, this does have like a lot of frequency content in it. So again, this is like a raw ingredient, and we do want to maybe do a little processing. Okay, at least there's no low end in this, but it is a little, it does have like a lot of high energy. So a lot of energy in the high end. We do want to warp and loop this. Oh, and make sure we're putting our swing over here on this other hat. And we can get rid of these other patterns we're not using. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and loop this. Okay. And we'll call this drum loop 1. And we also, again, want to pull up span, sort of see where the level's coming in. So it does seem like it is pretty loud. We're going to pull it back a bit. Okay. Maybe just pull it back a little bit. Good. That looks about right. Let's try it with other hi-hats. And we could even try to, again, take the utility tool, narrow the stereo image a bit. Okay. We could even pull this one in a little bit, this hi-hat loop. Okay, that sounds about right to me for now. And then the last step, what we could do is add kickstart in here. So I know we're cutting off that like clap sound. Okay, I'm actually liking that groove because that gives us room to put our own clap sound in there, and this gives us more control and opens up room for the kick and everything. And so let's pair that with the basses we put in. Okay, try it with the sub basses. And then I think we should put in an open hat. Okay, eighth notes. I'm gonna go here on this note here. So again, 1 bar loop, open hat. We'll make this like a yellow color, I guess. Just so we know it's a little bit different. And we don't want to put this in the same group as the other hi-hats. So let's go back to our sample pack. We're going to go to this one and drum hits. We're going to go to open hats. I'm gonna look for like a nice clubby one. I actually like that one right there. And we're gonna pull this way down. And this is where we can sort of use this open hat to build up our track. So maybe it doesn't play in the beginning. Then when we get to this point, all right, it's playing. And then, again, same thing here. Maybe in the first half of the exposition is not playing, but, you know, it comes back in again here. And that's just sort of how we can subtly build up the track. Same thing with the drop and climax. I might actually just have it start playing right there. And we can copy over our percussion section here. Okay, we'll put it here for the breakdown. We'll have it stop during the break. It'll come back in here. Again, goes for the breakdown again, and then we're going to repeat the beginning right at the recap. And then maybe we start fading some of these elements out. So like, let's see here. And same with this drum loop. I might actually put this one in, like have it come in a bit later. So we start with a basic pattern, and then it gets a little more busier. So I think this one's just a bit loud. Oh, this is supposed to be hat 2. Okay, there's our drum loop. And with the open hat, I might even turn this rolling bass down. Okay, and I think the last thing we can add in here is a clap. Okay, again, another MIDI lane, and we're gonna look for a nice, like snappy clap. Okay, let's start our auditioning these in contacts. So we're gonna, again, oops. Select a quarter note, and we want this clap to play on every other downbeat. Whoops, we got it. And we'll make this a 1, or I guess a 2-bar loop. Why not 4 bars? And this is, again, another element that we can sort of add in there as we're, you know, building up the track in intensity. Okay, we don't have to start with the clap. We can add in a little bit later. Okay. And this is also where we want to get creative with the kick drum, okay? Don't just make the kick drum always play downbeats, but like I hear right here, maybe like some kind of kick roll or something. And we'll do like a little build up here, and make sure you adjust the velocity so it doesn't overload the sub range. Go like that. All right, so there we go. We started adding some more elements in, getting a basic groove, and just, you know, building up stuff in the track we know we're gonna need. I might adjust this clap, I might adjust some of these sounds, but for the most part, this is a handful of the basic elements in. I don't want to make this video any longer, but thanks guys for hanging out with me. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you guys think of these tutorials, if they're helping you, if they're too long or too detailed. I can just start throwing stuff in. We don't have to get into too much depth on this stuff. But all right, guys, in the next one, I think we're going to start adding more elements such as like cymbals, effects, risers, stuff like that, just to really start building a track with, again, basic elements, stuff we don't have to think too hard about in the beginning, because once we have like a basic rhythm bed and some basic effects and stuff, it will become easier to start adding our synths and instruments and acid sounds and stuff like that. Okay? So, all right, guys, see you on the next one.